2000, and he was looking to develop it for rail cars, for semis, for cars, like, and on and on and on. He's like, the biggest problem is stopping it once it gets going, because the toroidal structure meant that the compression cycle from 12 to 2 of that first cylinder was such that when the combustion occurred and it propelled the next piston into the next combustion cycle and kept going. So getting that power out of the central crank was a challenge, and then how to stop the damn thing was like the bigger challenge. But they'd run on like horse piss, ionic charged particles, diesel, gas. Like, they didn't even need spark plugs. So I'm like blown away by this. I go back the next day. Poof, where'd he go? Booth's gone, empty, done. And I had the guy's info. I tried to reach out to him. Website gone. The website I'd looked at the night before, gone. Got gobbled up. 5 years later, I see him again at another trade show with another kick-ass design. And man, was he a bitter man. It's like, yeah, never again. Because they bought it and they shelved it. I'm never selling anything again. Fuck them. I'm licensing to specific channels of applications, and that's it. His new product.
So what do you think happened if you're a conspiracy theorist? Do you think someone bought him out and just
I'm a small independent business owner realist, and that, hell yes, someone didn't like that, and they shelved that shit.
So they bought it and then just shelved it?
Yep. So his next product...
Who did that?
I don't know, and he was very cagey about it. Then he had another product where you would replace the alternator in your car with a generator, and you had a small battery in the vehicle, right? So this is a retrofit system. The retail model was brilliant because you'd have like a pretty cheesy and expensive 3-axis mill, a shit ton of CAD files, and one product on the shelf. So in a lightweight car, it was like an electric supercharger. So you'd replace your alternator and it had a toothed cog for the pulley, and then your crank pulley would add a toothed cog to it, and then a toothed belt. So the idea was it would assist the internal combustion engine through its compression cycle. It would negate the parasitic load of all the Fiat, all the front engine accessory drive mounted things, your alternator, smog pump, or whatever, by pushing the engine through the cycle with the captured electrical energy from the deceleration.
Whoa.
And then in bigger cars, it gave you like pass assist and range increase, and it did great things for MPG. And then the story I got on that one was BMW put him under a big contract for it to license it and use it, and then the guy disappeared off the face planet again.
Jesus Christ, this guy.
Shit happens.
Do you remember there was a video that was circulating many years ago about a guy who created a car to run on air? Water. He created a car that runs on water. And then this car that ran on water, he apparently had a viable engine and it was really working. And then he had a heart attack. And as he was dying, he was saying, "They killed me. They killed me." And then he died. And then nobody heard from the water engine again. But
he's from Columbus.
He's from Columbus too?
Grove City, yes.
See, that shit happens, and I don't even like the term conspiracy theory, because I think that's something created by the machine to negate things that are disruptive and innovative, so we can put them in a little box and call it a conspiracy theory or whatever, and therefore it never happened.
Well, anyone who doesn't believe in conspiracy theories, I say, look at Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah.
It's real clear. Meyer said that his invention could do what physicists say is impossible, turn water into hydrogen fuel efficiently enough to drive his dune buggy cross-country on 20 gallons straight from the tap. Wow. He took a sip of cranberry juice, then he grabbed his neck, bolted out the door, dropped to his knees, and vomited violently. I ran outside and asked him what's wrong. His brother Stephen Meyer recalled. He said, "They poisoned me." That was his dying declaration.
That's fucked up.
That's fucked up. I don't know if it's true. He might have been nuts.
Or both.
Or both.
I mean, that's another thing. Like, we like to just call people nuts and write them off. Yeah, well, some of the greatest innovators, throughout the history of mankind have been a little off the rocker. And
Nikola Tesla was in love with a pigeon.
Yeah.
He was in love with a pigeon. I love
that story.
Yeah.
His final days, man.
Well, there's also a story that I read that I've tried to substantiate, that apparently he was so frustrated by sexual desires and a love affair that he had and the distraction that it presented, that he, in quotes, destroyed his sexuality. I do not know what that means.
You know what? I'd like to look into it, because I gotta say, man, I'm kind of tired of my penis still ruling my brain. You know, at 50, it's like, I wouldn't mind to be able to take it off and leave it at home.
Jesus.
Well, no, I mean, just like, enough already. Like,
enough already.
You know.
I get it. Yeah.
I mean, I like turn it on, turn it off as needed and when appropriate, but like, I don't want to be walking around like.
Maybe have a hip switch. Just like something you could just like set it aside and become a unit for a little bit. Yeah.
Or at least make it useful. Make it like a GoPro mount or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. There's a lot of innovation that does sort of get swept aside that you wonder. Like, there's a documentary, Who Killed the Electric Car?
Yeah, Stephen, really interesting cat, the guy who produced and developed that.
Yeah.
Lovely guy.
Yeah, I don't know who he is, but that is another example of, that was an innovation that was a little bit ahead of its time, and the powers that be were like, fuck you.
Yeah, they were not ready for it.
Yeah.
And that goes way back. I mean, have you heard of the Selden patent? Very interesting piece of American transportation history. This prick named Selden was one of the richest people in the country because he was like one of your early patent trolls. Who like sat back one day and went, we got these horse carriages and we got these new motor things and, at some point it could be a horseless carriage. So he like literally did like a chicken scratch bullshit drawing and filed it and got awarded the patent. So Henry Ford and his first two companies, as well as the Dodge brothers, all the early pioneers in the transportation sector in the U.S. had to pay this prick a massive royalty to even produce the vehicle. And it was Henry after he went down and under and he was reborn and came back out with Ford Motor Company the second time, that he said, fuck him, fuck that, I'm not paying this shit. And it was like 8 years of court battles to overrule it. And the National Automotive Dealers Association originally didn't want any trouble and everyone was paying. And Henry was the one who had the gall and the balls to say, no, you should not pay this prick. And they finally got it kicked out. But they say that hindered innovation in transportation for a good decade.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, I didn't know about that.
And it was only the electric starter, the Magneto starter that Henry Ford integrated into his cars that really made
trying to get my morning Chiba ready.
Shift away from the dominance of electric cars to internal combustion. So when you flash forward and you look at Mr. Payne's film Who Killed the Electric Car, and you look at Firestone and who was it? Pacific Oil. There was an oil company, a tire company, and they created that bus company, and then they did all the lobbying to privatize municipal transit.
Hey, good morning, guys. What's up?
Good
morning.
And California had an incredibly successful electric trolley system through the West Side. It was brilliant. It was pioneering. They had everyone. They're the ones that ended up stacked in the desert. There's some of that footage in the film.
Yeah.
Because we're not going to sell tires of oil if this shit goes.
So, what is it? Sunday morning?
They do that.
Sunday.
They will buy a company that's doing amazing innovation. Yeah, and they just
Sunday fun day. Listening to a little bit of Joe Rogan to start my morning off. Wasn't even a whole podcast, just a clip about the automotive industry and who destroyed like the water car or the water engine. Electric engines have been around for fucking decades before Tesla and all these other guys.
Risk-free first bet makes it incredibly easy to bet without risk.
Motherfucker, automotive industry shut shit down.
All-pro nose tackle Vince Wilfork to be Aaron's food safety.
Jonathan, you?
I remember like years ago I watched a documentary on this guy who invented an engine that could auto engine that could run on water, and I don't know, he said some weird shit like I don't even remember if the specs are right, but he was like, I can drive this shit from New York to California on 13 gallons of water. And it's like 13 gallons of water? And somehow that guy comes up dead and his patent is missing. And now nobody can build a water engine no more. The air engine that literally just ran on charged particles from the air. Somebody killed that guy, snatched up his patent and his invention. All the shit that Tesla came up with, they hoarded all that shit and got it on in boxes on shelves somewhere, never to see the daylight again. And that's why motherfuckers keep talking shit about Elon Musk, but him and his electric cars has changed the fucking world lately. And every other automotive producer has to have some type of hybrid or fully electrical car, because now people are just not going to sit back and say, well, gas and petrol and fossil fuels are the only way. Yeah, 60 years ago, 80 years ago, motherfuckers probably thought that way, but now, once again, new science is out there, new ways of sharing information is out there, and we know that there's better forms of renewable energy to offset our carbon emissions from burning fossil fuels. And we can go damn near fully electric with our cars in like another 2 decades, 3 decades maybe. So I'm going to enjoy this, and then we're going to get into some painting.
First man,
Probably troll
not only the
Facebook.
first man I've ever met who made his own leather jacket, but absolutely the first man who made his own leather jacket who's ever been on the podcast wearing that jacket.
Why, thank you so much.
It's a fucking sweet jacket, man.
I'd show you my G-string, but it's probably a little much for this time of day.
Well, how are you functioning? Is it like on the side? How are you tying that one?
Well, I prefer a center rear yank. So does my wife, because she can just put the leash right on it, and
Nice.
2 for 1 keeps
When
me
did you
on.
get into making leather stuff? Is that a recent thing?
About 3 years ago. But I mean, Joe, my whole life I've just been a rampant fan of craftsmanship, and I've done various deep dives throughout my life into like all sorts of different art forms. In fact, the reason automotive design became my thing and turned into a business was because my hobbies of painting and sculpting and finished carpentry, woodwork, and all these different things. If you think about it, transportation is like this incredibly communicable, extroverted combination of so many different art forms.
Yeah.
So I've been also, as in my travels in the last 10 years or so, or maybe 5, I've really been always have been focusing on like getting immersed in that local culture. But now I've stepped that up a notch, and I'm doing like these deep dive travels into different art forms of different cultures. So leathercraft, I've been visiting tanneries and studying from masters in the U.S. and in Morocco and Mexico. I just got back last week from Mexico doing it.
Really?
Yeah, it's super fun. And it's zen, because for me now at this point, the scale of the shop is
Good morning.
such
What's up?
that I'm actually doing a disservice if I'm out there actually building your car, right? Because that's what I used to do. I'd weld it and shape it, and I was on the floor.
I might just find some. Do I have to move? Yeah. Slide back a little bit.
What's the captain's favorite type of cookie? Captain's got a sweet tooth. Watch out. She's allergic to... Allergic to what?
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Yep, just asked on myself. Oh man, oh man. Shit made me want to spit some poetry on this little lo-fi beat. What up, what up, what up? Good morning, good morning. Good morning, yeah. Wake up with the vibe. I get up with the sky. You know that I rise. And I always stay high. Good morning, good morning. The best way to start the day is a breakfast of champions. You know what I'm saying? You gotta get your herbs in your diet, man. You gotta have your herbs, your fruits, your vegetables, and your herbs. Never forget the herbs. Oh, but today we're gonna be where I'm gonna start. I'm still not finished with her face yet. I want to work on her lips and her teeth a little bit more, and then I may fill in her hair a little bit, and then I'll start working on his face. But this piece is coming along nicely. Been having fun with it. I got a chance to package up a lot more of my brush holders last night too. So if anybody want to order some brush holders, hit me up. I'm selling them directly. I plan on setting up a website or something, Etsy. People feel more comfortable if they give their information to a AI algorithm instead of giving it directly to a person. I don't understand that shit, but anyway, I already sold a few of them. I had one guy say he was gonna buy like 20 of them because he teaches art classes, so he said he was gonna buy like 15 or 20 of them, but he didn't. That's why I don't be paying attention to people, yo. Motherfuckers say all kind of shit. Lo-fi may be too slow for me this morning. It is chill as shit though.
Soaring Flanagan has the solution for your best sleep yet. Get a free adjustable base with the purchase of select mattresses. Plus, with free next-day delivery.
So, how y'all feeling this morning? You up and you watching the motherfucker in the art studio, so you must be in a good mood or something. If you're not, I'm gonna get you in a good mood, cause we gonna be creative. I just messaged my art teacher. So my mentor, like, I can never, I don't know, yo. It still feels like I have not repaid this dude for the tutelage, the instructions, and the critiques that he gave me over the years. And it's like, I don't know. There's only like a few people that I really care if they are like proud of what I'm doing, yo. Everybody else, fuck everybody else, yo. Cause I'm gonna do this shit for me regardless, cause I love to create art. But there's a few people who I want to make proud that I am creating art. And my mentor, he's one of them people, yo. You know what I'm saying? Like, motherfucker taught me a lot of shit. So I just sent him a picture of my my product. He was like, what did he say? He said, awesome. The start of an empire. Yeah. I told him to send me his address and I'll just give him one and see how, if he likes it and it works for him, I know I came up with something really good. I mean, it works for me, yo. That shit just works.
Unison Cord Pack. Unison Mini Cord Pack. It is super, super useful.
He told me to send it to his studio.
This has over 1,200 MIDI files that can help you make chord progressions.
It's essentially a chord pack with loads and loads and loads of chords.
Get off that shit. Yeah, there's not too many people I would just give one of these to, but my mentor, definitely gotta give him one. And my art teacher. might be right here. Let's look at this real quick. See exactly where we're at. So yeah, the skin is looking really good. I did more to the lips than I thought I did. So we just need to add some highlights to the teeth and then work on her neck in a very small area of her chest that you can see right there. And then after that, we'll try to detail the hair a little more and throw some more highlights and put some individual strands of hair. And she has like flowing strands of hair that's coming across her shirt right here. So I'm gonna try to start adding those details in, and then I'll start working on highlights on. We'll put the third layer of paint on his skin tones. You can see the difference. Like her skin it looks just a little more smoother than his with that final layer of paint. And the client actually asked me to remove this piece of hair from in front of her face. I guess he didn't like that in the picture, so I took that away. Oh, my foot is hurting so bad this morning. I can't wait till tomorrow. I think the orthopedics doctor is supposed to call me tomorrow and schedule me for an ultrasound. Alright, you guys got any suggestions on what we should listen to? Or some discussion topics before we get started painting this morning? I mean, it is Sunday. I ain't got nothing to do. I'm injured, so I'm be in the house all day. You know what I'm saying? This might be a 5-hour stream this morning. But I will have to get something to eat soon too. I should have brought some snacks up here with me. But I'm trying to see if there's anything in the news. I say this shit all the time, yo. Like I follow specific people on social media, and people I follow, I think I choose to follow like creative, artistic, intelligent, forward-thinking people, and those type of people like just post good shit. I follow a lot of funny ass people too, who are just like those meme whores who just meme all day. No. um, Dr. Umar Ifatunde. His name was Umar Johnson. Now he changed his last name. Dr. Umar returns to Harlem Friday, October the 13th, 2020, from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Free. Allah School in Mecca, 10-year anniversary book release, meet and greet, signing. So the event is free, but he has a book signing. I get it though. I met the dude in person one time. He seemed like a cool guy, but then he's just a regular person. So anything he fuck up on, or anything that other people perceive to be um, out of character, like they shit on him so bad, like so bad. But this dude gave me a lot of knowledge. You know what I'm saying? I've heard a lot of stuff from him that I haven't heard from other people. So like whoever got the knowledge, I'll listen to him, man. Hmm. Still nobody wanna is something wrong with the comments? Let me see. No, there's nothing wrong with the comments. Nobody just want to comment. It's all good. Y'all don't want to tell me what y'all want to listen to, then y'all will fall subject to whatever I want to listen to. And I listen to the same shit all the time. I'm still checking for something that's interesting. Nobody's posting anything interesting on Facebook. Yeah, I did see this one thing on Instagram, yo. That shit was crazy. The lady, she was drugged out, yo, and coming at some dude and wouldn't let him like get to his car. She was like standing in between him and his car, and she was holding this puppy. What, the lady drugged the fuck out, you know what I'm saying? Some crazy shit. Then she wound up throwing the puppy at the dude. Like, literally, like it was a rock or a baseball. Like, she fucking threw the puppy at the guy. And the puppy hit the dude, fell on the ground, started yelping and shit. And the puppy ran between the guy's legs for safety, and the dude picked up the dog. He was like, lady, what the fuck are you doing? Yeah, that shit was too funny. Who throws a dog at somebody? No. No. Nobody's talking about the fly on Pence head anymore. That was funny for like 2 days, 2 whole days. Those memes were going crazy. I had to share one. I can't lie, it was so nice. It was, you know, dude had a fly right on his head. But then the meme I shared was like other motherfuckers who were on camera during the debate or something, and flies landing on them. Yeah, well, nobody's posting anything like news related at all. Everybody's just posting cool ass pictures, old ass flashbacks. Alright, so there is nothing to talk about on Facebook. Let's check Instagram. I have a message. Oh, somebody else posted this shit, yo. Here it is. Yo, everybody's posting this.
Hobson? Hobson?
Yo.
Oh, Crank. Are you on a toy soup? Back up. See these rings, nigga? I'm rich. Exactly. What do you have, love? Vanilla? Nah, for real, just listen. Love you? No, listen, I said that for you. Back up. If I really do that, do you really What are you talking about? Let me get back in my car, bro. It's called the Mafia. It's called the military of the United States of America. You're black. What did you say? I said you're black. So what if I'm fucking black? What's up? So what if I'm fucking white? I didn't say nothing about race, you racist bitch. So what if you're from California and I'm not? Race. I'm not from fucking California. So what's up? It doesn't matter. What's up? What do you want to do? Utah? What the fuck is wrong with you? Back up, bro. Back up, bro. Fucking weirdo. Nasty. Gee.
Yeah, D1.
Gee, what are you doing? Who are you? I don't have an identity. Why
I don't have an identity.
Like this? Where did you come from? The fuck? You look like you have an identity in the Illuminati. No, if you was a dude. Mercedes. That means what? Do you really want to be worth more than Mercedes or not? Is that your dog? What the fuck? Come here. Get the fuck out of here, you dumb bitch. Whoa, back up. This is not your fucking dog. This is not your dog. I got video of everything. Yeah, get the fuck out of here. You're going to jail, bitch. I have mental health records. I don't give a fuck what you have. Mental health records since I was... Stop touching me, bro. Back up. What's your name? It don't matter. Exactly, it don't matter. Will you steal my dog?
You just gonna steal my dog? Yo, she threw the dog at him like it was a fucking rock. Yo, she hit him with the dog. The dog started crying. Don't you really want to be worth more than a Mercedes? Huh? I don't have an identity. You go to jail, bitch. I have a mental health record. I don't give a fuck. You from Watts? Huh? It's called the Military of the United States of America. You're black. So what if I'm white? Huh? Hey, yeah, this bitch been drugged out. Whatever she had, that shit was top notch. Yo, she threw the dog. Yo, she hit this dude with the dog, yo. Word up. Hit him with the puppy. That was funny. That was like the third time I watched that shit, yo. The first time I had to watch it twice back to back. I had to watch it again, yo. I actually, like I say, after the first time I watched it, I shared it to my Facebook. Come on, Facebook. What are you doing? Little bitch. Yeah, I shared it on my Facebook. The comment, evil as hell. I would say she evil as hell. Your mother, your sister, your brother, your father, you think they really love you? Huh? You drive a machine. You from California? So funny, yo. This meme right here, it's from the old Johnny Quest. It says Mike Pence showing what part of Africa Kamala Harris is from. India. She's from this part of Africa. Yo. I had to share that meme, yo. And she's from here? Oh, damn.
FanDuel Sportsbook makes it easy to parlay bets.
FanDuel, always trying to get you to gamble. Yeah? Y'all want to gamble? Man, y'all ain't got to go to the casinos no more. We got this new shit for you. It's called FanDuel.
Within the same game. But to make it even easier, we got Jeopardy champ James Holzhauer.
Good morning, guys. Everybody in a chill mood. Yo, them young kids can't jam this shit like this right here, bro. Well, that shit so motherfucking vibey. Yo. I'm moving in stereo. Oh, that shit just made me think of another song too, yo. To get you in the groove, yo. Alright, so I had every fucking Linkin Park album, yo. Linkin Park, my shit, yo. I can work out to that shit all fucking day, yo. A lot of people ain't never heard this song right here, though.
Close my eyes and I keep seeing things. Rainbow waterfalls, sunny liquid dreams. Confusion creeps inside me, raining down. Got to get to you, but I don't know how. Call me, call me. Let me know it's alright. Call
Sticks,
me, call me. Don't you think it's about time? Please won't you call me?
Stone Temple Pilots.
What can I do to get me to you? searching season out. Got to get to you. Won't you tell me how? Call me, call me. Let me know you want it.
Why can't I find the color I'm looking for? That I got white.
Ease my mind. Reasons for me to find you.
Only reason I know that song is because it was Cowboy Bebop. Like, I have every episode of Cowboy Bebop plus the movie. Cowboy Bebop probably is an anime that has like some of the fucking best music. Like, I don't know how they did that shit, but yo, this is the intro to the show. It's this fucking jazz run that is stupid. Like, how does an anime come on with this fucking super funky ass jazz? Yo, and it don't quit. Like, the whole theme, like, all the way through is just, like, so energetic. Yo, this shit is crazy, yo. And then, like, all the music throughout every episode from the movie, like, yo, Cowboy Bebop has some of the best music. Like I say, this is just the intro to the show, yo. Like, what the fuck? tell that shit was 90% horns with some drums in that shit, yo. Telling you, And then the show is the fucking shit, yo. Like, the music is a plus. It's a space drama, a space opera. They're like bounty hunters in the future and shit, you know. And interplanetary travel is like commonplace, and you know, people have like personal spaceships and shit, and they just go around trying to, you know, make money. The motherfuckers don't really want to work for nobody, so they just bounty hunters, like this little group of bounty hunters, yo. And then goddamn, they wound up finding this little kid. Then they find this fucking super smart dog. Then they had a whole fucking crew. Then the one chick, yo, she a goddamn, she has a gambling problem, yo. She always be running from motherfuckers in debt and shit. Like, she a bounty hunter, but motherfuckers be hunting her down for debts and shit. That shit crazy. Really? I think I lost the speaker. I hate that shit. Sometimes you could pause the fucking laptop and then unpause it, and then the speaker won't be connected. Not the harmonica. Yo, how this shit right here start off? Is this shit too hard too, yo? Yo, he making that shit sing, boy. that's the whole show. It has like this, I don't know, this funky ass vibe to it. I just love that show, yo. Cowboy Bebop. Damn, I might watch that shit today, yo. Watch from the first episode. Like all the music is just like jazz and blues and that western swing shit. Do 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 do. That harmonica shit, that shit been going off, yo. Yeah, that's why I turned it off. They probably get me anyway. Love those copyrights. Learning to pilot a real-life giant mech suit. This should be interesting. Ooh, they got a new Trapping in Paradise series. Hold up, let me see what they put on here first. No.
Dedicated
What happened?
to reenacting the mysteries of Demeter and
Trapping in Paradise. Yo, the Trapping in Paradise be some hot ass mixes, yo. Can't even lie. Anybody play that the vampire game they gave us free on PlayStation Plus this month? What it was, Vampire, and they gave us one of the Need for Speeds, one of the newer Need for Speeds. I don't know. I actually watched a little video on the evolution of Need for Speed. Like, this shit has been out for 20 years, yo. And I think Need for Speed Underground, the very, very first Need for Speed Underground, that was my favorite racing game ever, yo. Oh my God, yo. I could not play enough of that shit, yo. Yo, that Need for Speed Underground was the fucking shit. And then it seems like after that, like even the ones that came before that, and like the one or two right before that, and then the one after that were kind of okay. Need for Speed Underground 2 was like, that shit was alright. But I think it was the graphics and the soundtrack. Once again, like the music, yo. The soundtrack on that first Need for Speed Underground, that shit was so fucking lit, yo. While you speeding through the fucking city, hitting the nitro on that bitch. Damn, I wish I can talk to the computer like what you call it. Need for Speed Underground. Yo, they had that song on there, yo. Yo, Lil Jon and the East Side Boys. Alright, that shit was dope as hell to ride too. They had the Crystal Method, yo.
Bell's Nachos Party Pack. Whenever you're dressing up to stay in or witnessing a miracle. Go big.
They had this shit on there. They had Rob Zombie. They had Static X. They had, who else? What other song that I used to like to listen to, y'all here? I could have swore they had a a T.I. song was on this shit. This shit was on here. This shit was on here. I got need for speed. I got need for speed. I got need for speed. This shit was on here. Big shit on that, big money roll. Trap me in 2003. I'm a bad man. I just put it in the center. Yo, 2003, yo, motherfuckers. Yo. That 24, I remember that T.I. track was on there. Yeah, when that shit came on, yo, I knew I was about to win the race, yo. I could not lose listening to this shit, yo. Oh my God, yo, that fucking Need for Speed. That's why I be like, games nowadays, I still play a lot of games, but not nearly as much as I used to, because I done played so many fun games, man. Like a lot of a lot of the major innovations already happened. Like we're at a point now where we've made so many dramatic breakthroughs in gaming. Like the most that people are working on now is just like graphic fidelity, trying to make it look more realistic. But like mechanics, as far as driving games, shooting games, fighting games, simulation games, like all the fundamental mechanics work so well now that it's hard to like actually improve upon them unless you make something like the one game Dreams, where you can actually create games and the 3D painter games and stuff like that. Those are pretty cool. And then the advent of virtual reality, which just it does changes some of the rules and mechanics of gameplay, but essentially it's still the same. And so it's just like I said, I've seen so many great games and I've had so many memorable gaming experiences that like nowadays it's hard for me to be like, oh, that's hot. Like, nigga, I already saw that before. That's not new. Did you play the first Prince of Persia? That's where they got that from. You know, like that's what happened when Assassin's Creed came out. Like Assassin's Creed is a well loved franchise, yo. But I'm like, Prince of Persia? And then when Nathan Drake and the oh damn, what's this fucking series called? Uncharted. And it's like, you mean Tomb Raider? It's like all these things have been done already. All the way from Germany, Stefan. And even Red Dead, like, it's a great game, but we all know that, like, and it came from the same company, so it's understandable. But Grand Theft Auto 3, like, it really changed sandbox gaming, and like, there's different settings and atmospheres and characters, but it's still like it's Grand Theft Auto 3. I remember playing it when that shit first happened. Like when this type of game first became a thing, like I was there for that. And then they took, that same concept and put it in a Wild West setting. That shit is fun as shit though. And it's Rockstar. Like I say, Rockstar, they got their fame. That's their claim to fame, the sandbox, yo. And now so many other publishers have taken that same concept to make video games, and some of them work well and most of them don't. And that's why RD and GTA are as loved and popular as they are. Like Rockstar started that shit, yo. For the most part, you know what I'm saying? Cause I can literally remember my first time playing Grand Theft Auto 3, and I'm like, this is the same game that was on the computer where you drive around, and it's like, yeah. I'm like, oh my fucking god. And it wasn't even mine. I swear, it's like my cousin, the guy she was dating at the time. Like we were, all of us went to high school together and shit. And so it was like right after high school. And I had a PlayStation, but I just didn't. I don't know why I didn't hear about Grand Theft Auto. And I went over there to chill with them one day, and we were smoking, and like he put that shit on. I was like, what the fuck is this? Yo, I went and get this dude back his controller for a couple hours, yo. Bro. I'm like, nigga, you done fucked up. Let me play this right here, bro. And ever since then, like, I don't know. It's hard for me to play a more linear game where it's levels or you're restricted and can't go this way and you can't go past this boundary. Like a game has to be really, really good as a level platformer for me to play it like something like The Last of Us. You know, that game is so well designed that it almost doesn't feel like a platformer. I'm coming, guys. All right. Man, I be thinking I'm about to get a message for a cell or something, and it be some other shit though. Fuck.
And this is an excellent example, as chronicled by Chris Dunn in his book, Ancient Technologies, of a machined surface. Yusuf, are we on?
These are not markings of any kind of hammers and chisels.
No way. No way. Look at these lines. Look at these striations.
Exactly.
Look at these striations.
And also the higher parts and the lower parts shows that it was not all cut at once.
Exactly.
It was like
Especially here. This
here and here.
exactly. Yeah, here and there.
Exactly. See what it's like here,
But the fact that it's arched
Yes.
makes us wonder
what kind of tool was used. See illustrations?
Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful pattern. See the striations running this way, and you see the definitive pattern
I can see it, and I can't get it in my head.
going this way.
We've got
Oh, here it is.
So it's an arc. It arcs like that, curved, and the cutter most likely moved in this direction. Hopefully this is not the only example here, but this is an incredible example. And here especially, you see where the tool was cutting higher than here. It's also repeated here. Cut down from this surface or this level to that level, and then down to that level. And it is a beautiful arc. At Abu Rawash, this pyramid, to some extent, was cased or covered in rose granite. The rose granite, like in Giza, came from the Aswan quarry, which is about 500 miles away. Underneath the granite, and what we can see now, are limestone blocks. There's a lot of limestone in this area, so that could have been quarried locally. But what's intriguing about this site is that we can actually go inside, because it's as if the top of this pyramidal structure was blown off by a massive cataclysm. It wasn't quarried initially. It's being quarried now and has been for probably thousands of years. But it is possible that this was part of the energy power plant system of the Bu-Wizir area. And Bu-Wizir means the land of Osiris, which predates the pharaohs and dynasties of Egypt. Possible at the top, due to destabilization of the entire energetic system thousands of years ago, possibly at the time of the end of the last catastrophic termination of the Ice Age. It's literally blown off. And so we get to go into the core and have a look. If you're looking for a good introduction to the concept of the ancient power plants of pre-dynastic Egypt, then the documentary series by Carmen Bolter called The Pyramid Code is a very brilliant start. So you're looking at the limestone interior.
It's by who? Carver? Is that what he said his dude name was?
So you're looking at the limestone interior, Egypt, then the documentary series by Carmen Bolter called The Pyramid Code is a very brilliant start. So you're looking at the limestone interior.
got the whole thing. You gotta get the DVD for that. It's not her. All I see is a bunch of different interviews that she's done about her work on the Pyramid Code, but let's just click on one of these.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Carmen, for being on the show today. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Nice to be here.
Yeah, we're going to be talking with you about a lot of your work with the Pyramid Code. And, the Pyramid Code was a documentary I ran across a couple years ago. And I've been watching, I had watched John Anthony West's, who was featured in the Pyramid Code. I watched his documentary, but there was something about the Pyramid Code that, I don't know, it just grabbed me in some unique, strange way. And as a result, well, I guess not as a result, but you've been going to Egypt for, I think, 25 times now. Is that about right?
29.
29 times?
But who's counting?
Who's counting? Wow. So how many years ago did you start going there to Egypt?
1977 was the first time.
1977. And are you more fascinated or less fascinated now that you've gone 29 times?
That's a question I haven't been asked before. I guess more. I guess that's the simple answer, because it's much more complex, and there's always new places that I go to that I hadn't seen before. And yeah, I lived over there for 2.5 years.
So is it safe? A lot of people talk about how dangerous it is. Is it safe? I mean, you've been over there for so many times.
I have never gone where there isn't some kind of a government warning not to go, because it's dangerous, and I have never felt in danger there at all, ever. And I see it's a big propaganda thing that's coming across the media. Don't go there, don't go there. I was even on Tahrir Square a year ago, and I've got footage when we were filming one year when the revolution was on, and it was a Friday, and I've got footage of people singing and dancing. That's what they were calling their revolution and their protest. I mean, and even during that first revolution, it was across from the radio and television building in Cairo, where I had to get a lot of permits. And so I knew what the lay of the land was. And there were people walking around with their children. You don't bring an infant that you carry on your shoulder to somewhere if it's dangerous. And that's what they were calling the protest. So I see through that, and I think that there's a concerted effort to keep people out of Egypt. And it's working, like in the early days, people were willing to, go through that and trust it and come see for themselves. But now, with all of that stuff that has been reported, people are just like, forget it, it's too dangerous.
Yeah, I hear you.
But it isn't, okay? That's what we're told.
Yeah, we're told that. I mean, in 2001, I took a trip around the world for a year, and it was just the most amazing experience of my life. Took it around the world, and you find out when you start traveling that the world is very different than what you hear on the mainstream media. What you hear on the news and all these alleged bombings and attacks and all these things. And I went about 2 months after 9/11, and I was nervous, but when you start traveling, you realize a lot of this stuff is just made up American stuff. I don't know, it's bizarre, but when you travel, you realize it's a lot safer. Why do you think that there's a concerted effort to get people to not go to Egypt? What do you think that's all about?
Biden's plan is not a solution. It is a virtual surrender. Biden's plan for the China virus is to shut down the entire U.S. economy.
I would shut it down.
I call it CNN mentality, where what they want you to think is that the only place you're safe is on your own couch.
Yeah.
And now there's a worldwide travel alert that no American is supposed to go anywhere.
Right. Of course.
I mean, how is that realistic? Why? I mean, do we call a spade a spade? I mean, isn't it all power and control?
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is that like you know, I hear about Yemen. I haven't been there. Oh, it sounds dangerous. Well, I have no way of verifying that if I haven't been.
Mm-hmm.
And so I understand. Like for Egypt, I know it. I can phone somebody up right now and find out that everything's business as usual because I know it well and I know lots of people there. But with other countries that you haven't been to, it's enough to scare you into staying home.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think?
I want everybody home.
So what do you think it is about the pyramids? I mean, I understand what you're saying. I mean, in the Pyramid Code, that documentary, I have to say, if you're watching this and you have not seen that documentary, it's just one of the most amazing documentaries I've ever seen on the pyramid. It's so amazing. But it sounds to me like there would be a concerted effort to not allow or I guess kind of scare people away from going to Egypt, because the more people they have poking around there and learning and discovering new things, God knows what's going to come out. Do they know what they're hiding, or what do you think that's all about?
I appreciate your concern. It's all hidden in plain sight. And the thing is that many of us have been to Egypt and done a lot of exploring. I just came back from the Global Pyramid Conference in Chicago, which was just a brilliant event.
Uh-huh.
And, we're continuing to make discoveries about the pyramids, even if we don't go to Egypt. And ironically, Egypt came to us at that thing. They had a golden pyramid house that we went to visit outside of Chicago, half an hour outside. There were camel rides in the parking lot, and then they had a reception with Egyptian music and belly dancing and Egyptian food. And the first person that I ran into, I'd met in Egypt. So, we're still going to continue examining our pictures and looking theoretically at what's going on and working with data that we've already gotten. So it's too late. They can't completely hide it, but the dating system is wrong. We're taught to think that there's pyramids in Mexico, in Egypt. Okay, where else? Well, there's pyramids in like 20 countries. Dr. Samuel Smanagic of the Bosnian Pyramid Project, he was and I'm making a map, a world map now. I found 45 pyramids on Google Earth the other day in China.
45 just in China?
Well, they say there's 250, so I might need some help to find the rest of them. But they're in Mauritius, and they're in the Canary Islands, and they're in South Africa, and Antarctica, and Indonesia. I've just come back from Gunung Padang.
Uh-huh.
There's more than one pyramid in Java.
Uh-huh.
They're all over the world, and a lot of them are covered with earth and trees and vegetation, but that speaks to the idea that they're older than the last flood. So when the flood receded, the silt was on the pyramid, and then it grew things over the top, and so some of them have been excavated, and some of them are just hidden with little bits sticking out.
Mm-hmm.
And so that just it already means we have to rewrite history,
mm-hmm.
and mainstream doesn't want that. And so they keep repeating and repeating and repeating the propaganda that the pyramids were built in 2450 BC for the ego of the pharaoh, further than their tombs. And even though they've never found a mummy, they still keep saying that they're tombs.
It's ridiculous, right? There's
Built
never
by
been
slaves, they worshipped animals, they were obsessed with death. They didn't have a word for death.
Yeah.
So, but that's not the only story in the world that we've been told that doesn't add up. And that's what these kinds of interviews are about, is how can we trust our own instincts and develop discernment so that we can tell the difference between propaganda and truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I made a statement on a radio interview a couple of weeks ago, and somebody quoted it and put it on Facebook, and it went viral. And what I said was, the tragedy of our current culture is that the truth is an option.
Mm-hmm. That's true, yeah.
Make stuff up.
Just make stuff up and just keep repeating, and eventually everyone's going to believe it. Have you heard about that pyramid? I was just reading an article, I think it was about a year ago, about some sort of pyramid that they think has got some sort of reflective quality, and they're not sure what it's actually made out of. But you probably know where about this. But it was found at the bottom of the ocean off the coast of Florida, somewhat near the Bermuda Triangle. Have you heard about that?
I think north of Cuba.
Is that what it was?
I just filmed at the Bermuda Triangle, so yeah, I've heard about that. But if it's the story that I'm thinking of, it was too deep for divers to go down there,
mm-hmm.
and so they had to send a submersible camera down. So That's all they've got. No one's been down there to see it themselves.
So a lot of people have said that the pyramids. So many people have so many different ideas as to where they came from, why they're there. One of the theories that just comes to mind, that there's a million of them, but one of them that comes to mind is to balance out the wobble of the Earth, and to sort of synchronize the Earth and make it so that it doesn't wobble when it spins. They're strategically placed all around the world in order to prevent that. What do you think about that idea?
I'm warming up to it quite nicely. One thing that's true, if you put a knitting needle through the top of the Great Pyramid, go through the center of the globe, you come out at Haleakala, which is a volcano. So there's been all kinds of relationships between the heaviness of the pyramid and a heavy volcano on the other side, and that there's something about the molten action inside the planet and the weight that's doing something. My understanding is it's not so much about the wobble, but it's about the magnetic poles. And that there were 3 different disasters in Atlantis, and the first one in 58,000 years ago, not BC, 58,000 years ago, was a magnetic shift. And it makes sense when you look at the timing and some of the dating that's coming from these older pyramids, that there could have been a worldwide concerted effort to do something that would help to stabilize the magnetic poles.
So the magnetic poles. So, wow, I wonder, how did they even know that there was such a thing? I mean, these people, I oftentimes think about the culture and the society at that time, getting into their heads and getting into their mindset is got to be one of the most fascinating things. Because at the very, very least, in my mind, if you have a society and a culture that is just building these pyramids as slaves like we were all taught in school, at the very least, how do you coerce hundreds of thousands of people to work their entire lives to build, to focus on a singular task for their entire life, giving up everything that they wanted to do? Even, I don't even believe that, but even if that were the case, that would be impossible to do today, just to get people to work on a singular task like that.
None of what we're told about ancient history really makes sense. I remember feeling...
Since I got my injury, everybody's just messaging me, making sure I'm okay, asking what happened. Like, in the last 30 minutes, I've literally explained to 3 different people what happened, and, I'm not sure if I need surgery or not, and all this other shit. So that's when I'm sitting here doing all this messaging. Let me run to the bathroom. I would say real quick, but since I got the limp, as quick as I can, I guess. All right. Okay, I'm back. Phew. My God. This limping shit is not fun, yo, at all. Not in the slightest. But I'm hungry, so brought me some breakfast up. Had to put all my shit in a bag to make it easy to carry. Simple breakfast of some cereal. Got the generic Frosted Flakers. Y'all don't know about these. You know what I'm saying? It tastes better than the original Tony the Tiger shit. Oh yeah. Yo, why am I so fucking tired from just walking up the stairs? Throw some of these in there so I can say I had some fruit today. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't drink that cow shit, yo. And got killed, goddamn. The security guard's like, yo, we ain't about to have this shit today. We ain't about to play these games with your ass today. Bang, bang, shoot them up. Was it the cops? Nah, it was the security guards. The security guards wasted that nigga.
Sick in history class was going, no, that's
Yeah,
not.
I remember that too.
Yeah, okay. So they're trying to, but the thing is that there's links to how, because we're the ones who are enslaved now. And so if they say that the Anunnaki and, Nephilim, all that stuff, that they came here and enslaved us so that we dig gold, the implication is that we're not enslaved now.
Mm-hmm.
There's a hidden hand now in terms of what we're being taught and how we are enslaved. So the ancients were brilliant. We're told that we're the smartest we've ever been. And I've got serious concerns about, people's memory loss and, lack of creativity. And I think that people are becoming more and more distracted and less, like I said, creative. So I think we're really in trouble. We're not the smartest we've ever been. I mean, we'd stop hurting the planet if we were being smart. So I attribute all of this to patriarchal ways of being and thinking. And the agenda of the patriarchy has been to erase evidence of everything other than itself. So everything else, is the more balanced, intelligent, connected, cross-disciplinary, civilized in a way that's peaceful. Mm-hmm. So we've got it wrong in terms of, so let's just draw a line, a firewall to the mainstream media and what they're trying to tell us in school and all of that, and start over again and look from a different perspective. And there's plenty of stuff on YouTube that will show you unified writing that's been found all over the world. We know that Atlantis was a worldwide seafaring culture. There's lots of things, and they all these civilizations, the Mayans, the Egyptians, the Vedic Indians, the Chinese, and the Sumerians, they all had knowledge of astronomy, high-level mathematics, all kinds of things that they understood. Sky-ground correlations, they understood how energy worked. They have similarities. And we want to overlook that because they have, different locations. We're the ones who are dividing the earth up into all these different countries and regions and ethnic groups and everything else. So there was a unified field. And I think about the third-party hypothesis, that perhaps all of the cultures that I mentioned would have all had similar ancestors. And what does that mean? But there's been some incredible finds lately that aren't announced to the public, but I've been privy to see some pictures of these places. And I know I'm connected. Anyway, so there's been a stash from Amarna. That's my speculation. It very much looks like the Amarna period, and there's Akhenaten is clearly in there, and Amenhotep III, of all these gold statues that were found. And they picked across it's gold, it's wooden, they're wooden statues with gold leaf over the top. So they got a little piece of wood under the gold and had it dated, and it comes out at 15,000 years ago. Well, that means that they inherited the treasures, because Nefertiti and Akhenaten were in about 1350 BC, something like that. So we really need to rewrite all this. You know, there's 3 levels of civilization that are represented at Gunung Padang in Java. We've just been, I guess I want to say our true heritage has been stolen from us, but it's there, and now you can find images and things. Devices that they had, and piece by piece, the story's coming back together.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the depictions of all these weird devices, the Ankh, and all these tools, and then, but I'm curious, how long do you think the current paradigm in Egypt, the people who are sort of blocking people doing real research on the pyramids, how long are they going to be able to continue to tell people that these things are 2,500 years old and they were built by forever?
Forge new paths. Now through November 1st. Buy 4 eligible Firestone tires, and you can get a $60 Visa prepaid card by mail. Or you can get up to $100.
Do you think?
Listen, we've had 5,000 years of the wrong story. I mean, they can continue, but the thing is that I think the bigger challenge is, can we wake up and start telling another story? And that's what I think these interviews are about. So, I've been citing that we've got a lot of problems in the world, but there's an additional problem. There's a whole lot of people that don't realize it. So that's 2 problems. One's all the, death and destruction and all the hidden things and lack of transparency. And then there's all these people who think that everything's fine. And it isn't. So, those traditional stories are going to last for the people who go as tourists and listen and go, okay. Because there's all kinds of things they tell us that don't even make sense. But many people don't continue to listen with their being. So, we can use ourselves like human divining rods, like, muscle testing, that sort of thing. And if, either we move towards something and we feel warm and good about it, or we move away from it and go, no, there's something wrong with that. So we need to put ourselves into the equation. Otherwise, we're just going to be little belief machines. And that's not good enough.
Yeah, I think that what's happening in today's world, I think, is really promising, because eventually the people that are the gatekeepers of our governments, of our media, of our corporations, and places that protect Egypt and these types of things from people doing real research, eventually those people are going to be staffed by people that have never grown up without the internet. And it's hard to live in a world like today where you have so much access to this kind of knowledge. You have access to it. It's a click away on YouTube. You can do all this research, and eventually, in 30 or 40 years, the people that are the gatekeepers are going to never have been born, never have been alive without a smartphone. So these people, I'm assuming, are going to be a little bit more awake, and hopefully we keep moving in that direction with the podcasts like this. And you do a ton of shows with all kinds of amazing people, interviewing you. So I'm hoping that with the advent of the internet and social media and interviews like this, people start waking up, and I think eventually it's going to just be like a snowball effect.
Yeah, and it's people know what's going on more and more. Now, once you start to wake up and question, that's the first step. Wait, that doesn't make any sense. Let me see. Once you start to wake up and you go, aha, that was a false flag event. Aha, that was staged.
Yeah.
You don't really go back and put your head under the pillow again.
No.
You keep looking and look, oh no, there's another example, there's another example. And so once there's a pinprick into this, I think that then it becomes, bigger and bigger and bigger.
But this is what, well, once again, I seen this in the 90s, in the mid-90s, when the one geologist, Robert Schoch, attempted to redate the Sphinx. And that's the first time, in my lifetime that I heard anybody with credible credentials in a specific field try to go against the the current Egyptologists at the time on the history of Egypt. And it fascinates everybody. The story of Egypt and Tutankhamun and all these people is just like, it's so interesting. But these Egyptologists, for some reason, they don't really want the outside world to know as much about the Giza Plateau as we possibly can, and they restrict so much research being done. And these motherfuckers know, like, the whole story that they've crafted and told for 100 years is incorrect. It's very, very incorrect. And the people in all the movies and everything, all the imagery that they show us as the dynastic Egyptians did not build any of those grand structures at all. They're way older. They're way older. And the most intriguing part is, maybe this was a part of a global civilization. These pyramids are all over the fucking world. They're everywhere. And you just can't build structures like that happenstance by accident all over the world, yo. Like, this was a known way to build. And so now I can't even hardly listen to like mainstream commentary on Egypt, because the shit, like the lady said, that shit don't even make no fucking sense, yo. How you got machine tool marks and drills, like drill holes and core drills all over Egypt, if these motherfuckers just had bronze chisels and were baking mud bricks in the sun? Get the fuck out of here, yo. This shit was done with machinery.
And then we poke our heads up and see that it's a whole different world than we've been told.
Yeah. For me, I got interested in this in the mid '90s, and I was reading some Graham Hancock books and things like that. And I had a friend of mine who was really interested in this kind of stuff. And it's interesting because once you realize that we've been lied to about one thing, you can start looking at every other area of your life. Holistic health, nutrition, everything that we're been told is most likely the opposite is the truth. And I remember sitting in class when I was in fifth or sixth grade, and I remember that I can sit down and I can look at the textbook and I could almost redraw the picture, those little pictures they put in textbooks of children. Of the slaves pulling with all these ropes, like 30 or 40 of these people pulling the ropes of these stones. And I remember when I was in sixth grade thinking, there is no way. There's no possible way they could do this. And I heard someone saying just recently that according to one of the estimations, that, it would take them 600 years to build a pyramid. There's 2.3 million stones, all the way up to 60 tons each, that are, like you said in the Pyramid Code documentary, that sometimes you can't even put a razor blade through these things. It's just, there's no way. And the other thing about it, too, that's fascinating is that the quarry, from what I understand, now correct me if I'm wrong, to the Great Pyramid is about 500 miles away. So for me, I live in Southern California. We go up to Tahoe every year. which is sort of, I don't know, maybe central to Northern California, it takes us like 8 hours to drive that. I think that's roughly 500 miles. How are they going to pull, set, quarry, and position each one of those stones that far away? It makes...
In our modern times, it still takes us damn near 8 hours to travel. Not even carrying a load, just to travel 500 miles. You know, in a vehicle across the land. But yeah, they want us to believe that these motherfuckers quarried some stones that are fucking 20 tons and drug them motherfuckers 500 miles and then built the... Man, this shit don't make no sense, yo. However they did that shit, it was easy. It was way easier than that. You know, that's why when we build brick structures, we got these little uniform, rectangular, cubicle blocks that we set and we build because that's easy. It's easy to do it that way. Uniform, hand size. Even bigger buildings, you got the center blocks with the 2 holes, but they're still all uniformed. And you can stack them, and they're not too big. And then even with some bigger structures, you know, we have some cathedrals and temples and shit like that. But still, it's all blocks that are manageable size. We're not building with 20-ton blocks. Why would somebody do that? It seems so hard to want to build with a 20-ton block. But obviously it was easy for these motherfuckers, and that's why they did it. They didn't find it that much of a hassle, that much of an inconvenience to use a stone of such size. But in our modern way of thinking, we're thinking of levees and pulleys and ropes and harnesses and sleighs and our river rafts, and we're just thinking with the mind that we have. These motherfuckers had some other type of shit, yo. However they built them damn structures, it wasn't... They probably used some type of physical manpower, but not as much as we think, yo. Just like we got earth movers and backhoes and bobcats and bulldozers and dump trucks that help us move heavy shit out of our fucking way. You want to dig a hole, a big deep ass hole, we're not going to get out there with shovels and shit. We're going to get a fucking big ass backhoe and let the fucking machine do that shit. You know what I'm saying? However they did that shit, yo, they had some other type of technology that made it easy for them to do it, that allowed them to build the way that they did. Don't forget the rebar. You know what I'm saying? All that shit, yo. But they structures, no mortar, no nothing, just blocks fit together so tightly that these bitches ain't gonna move. That's it. We just butt them up against each other, yo. I find that amazing.
No sense at all.
That's correct. So I started to think, and I'm comfortable with this, that it's geopolymers. Some stones were carved, but many of them were poured. And once something has hardened into place, it's very difficult to see if it's a geopolymer granite or if it's a real granite.
Mm-hmm.
So that starts to make sense. And they're building new pyramids in Russia, actually, using this technique. So Joseph Davidovich is the one that scientifically demonstrated how this is true. But in my research in Egypt, I've seen that in many of the temple walls, there's the structure of the temple, there's the pillars themselves, and then in some places, the cement over the top has fallen off, and you can see that, and there's also what I call innies and outies. So some of the things are carved in, and some of them are like Fimo, where it's like the fresco is sticking out.
Okay.
And so all of that would be facilitated if the stones were poured, A. And B, after a lot of, cross-correlating and looking, I actually found a couple of places where if it had been a mold, they used the same mold at a different temple. But most of Egypt, most of those temples, they have like endless stories on the walls that are unique because they're really trying to give us, you know, clues as to who they were.
Uh-huh.
The Egyptian, you know, like, and I've often said this. I mean, I think reincarnation is, you know, was outlawed in 323 AD by Emperor Constantine. They want us to think we only live once. Well, okay, if you drop that idea, then, you know, we had past lives too. And I don't think anybody really pursues things or goes places unless they are already there. So, I mean, I'm quite comfortable with the idea that I've had at least 3 incarnations in Egypt. So we would have had future vision. We were psychic. It was just normal, right? And so if we knew that the world was going to turn into a bloodbath of corruption and darkness, and we were planning those
Did she say we had future visions and we knew? People were psychic back in the day or something? I don't know about that part.
But most of Egypt, most of those temples, they have like endless stories on the walls that are unique because they're really trying to give us, you know, clues as to who they were.
Uh-huh.
The Egyptian, you know, like, and I've often said this. I mean, I think reincarnation is, you know, was outlawed in 323 AD by Emperor Constantine. They want us to think we only live once. Well, okay, if you drop that idea, then, you know, we had past lives too. And I don't think anybody really pursues things or goes places unless they are already there. So, I mean, I'm quite comfortable with the idea that I've had at least 3 incarnations in Egypt. So we would have had future vision. We were psychic. It was just normal, right? And so if we knew that the world was going to turn into a bloodbath.
All right, she lost me on that part. This lady said she's had at least 3 reincarnations in Egypt, and that what draws her to Egypt. Interesting, but I don't know about that part. I keep listening to her, I guess. Some things just throw me off about some people, yo. Now I gotta listen to everything she's saying much more closely since she believes she's been reincarnated several times. Anybody else feel like reincarnation is a real thing? I say everybody's checking up on me. Nobody else thinks reincarnation is real? You've had a past life before? You know? Nobody with a past life, huh? I don't know. I don't feel like I've been reincarnated. I've never had like visions or dreams of a past life or no shit like that. But maybe this is my first incarnation, and I gotta go through this shit again. All my homies is asking. I posted a picture of myself on Facebook with my little hurt foot. Now everybody's like, what happened? What's wrong? I should have just wrote a comment on it so that people would know immediately. But now everybody. I didn't think that many people would like really contact me and be like, "Oh, you all right?" I'm good though. I just hurt my foot. All right. Let's listen to some more of what this lady has to say about her past lives in Egypt as we paint a little more
of corruption and darkness, and we were planning those temples, what would we leave for ourselves to trigger us into remembering what they were doing? And I say that's the frescoes, that's the body postures, the instruments, the processes that you see, and it's possible.
Well, then how are you saying that the pyramids are way older than they are dated modernly, but then you're saying that the paintings are on the inside, which we know are from dynastic Egypt, is what the original pyramid builders were trying to convey to future generations? You're mixing up two completely different timelines and trying to merge them and say it's the same thing. Now you're just talking over yourself a little bit, lady.
To decipher it.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about that theory? Well, I'm not sure. I got so much information. I can't remember if this was in the Pyramid Code or not, but of the pyramids being built from the top down?
Well, it's not logical. Now, how is that possible?
I know, right?
It's not a better theory, and and that the spaceships did it and everything. That's just too easy. Aliens, they did it.
Yeah.
The Anunnaki, they did it. Yeah, okay, but when and how many of them and in what way? It's just too easy to say, well, flat Earth, okay,
Yeah.
So no, I don't think they could have been built by the top down, but the way it was done has to have involved anti-gravity in some way.
It has to have, right? There's no other way. I mean, unless there were beings like I've heard before that were 60, 70 feet tall, and everyone was that big and they could carry these stones. But even still, if it takes 8 hours to drive 500, 600 miles, it's still going to take you forever to be able to create these pyramids, even if people are massively huge and there's giants on the earth and all of that, right?
Well, yes, but giants could be 7 feet tall, 12, 15, 25. You see all kinds of misinformation about giants online, where they'll have a human standing beside a being, and the human's as tall as the ear of the giant. I think we've got no evidence of that. And we know that a lot of bones from giants have been found in North America, and that they've been taken to the Smithsonian and then put on a boat and dumped in the ocean. Mm-hmm. And so there's been a huge thing to say that no, we didn't have giants, and yet there's legends of them, and bones are being found, and there's loads and loads of distended skulls from giant beings and bones that are being found in various places. And I've been asked to go and film some in South America. So I don't think they were 70 feet high. They may have been bigger than us. Okay, so it's all there. It's there. It's just that it's hard to put the story back together if you keep taking the evidence and hiding it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, regardless of how you slice it, the story we've been told is just not true at all, and any logical person can see that. Now, what do you think about the idea that Egyptians were mainly handed down this technology, and they weren't actually the ones that built the pyramids, but it was some greater civilization that came before them, and people say as time goes on, the stones get smaller and knowledge gets lost. What do you think about all that?
Oh, that's absolutely true. So the best technology is the oldest.
It's the oldest.
And one of the things about Egypt is that we look to dynastic Egypt, which started in 3113 BC, which parallels the Mayan calendar. But dynastic Egypt is patriarchal Egypt. And so all of the pre-dynastic material has also kind of been shoved into obscurity. So, the modern Egyptians who speak Arabic are not the race that put the pyramids and the temples there. So there's been a lot of distortion on that, but I also think that the pyramids and the temples are also two different time frames.
The pyramids and the temples. How many temples are there? I guess
there's
hundreds, right?
Yeah, loads of temples. I mean, there's, I don't know, 15 that are famous on the tourist circuit, and they are close to the Nile, and then there's some that are, and this is in the Pyramid Code, like Dendera and Abydos, that are quite a bit further from the Nile, which simply speaks to their antiquity, right? Because the Nile would have migrated, and so they would have been older, but both those temples have temples that are underneath them. And so, and at Abydos, they're beside each other, so the Assyrians much lower, and again, much more megalithic. In Dendera, there are crypts below, and there's places where you can see the temple pillars from the lower level. And so they're just much, much older. So yeah, there's lots to be said about dating and what was there before and what's been built on top of and on top of. But we're getting more comfortable now thinking about even the Bosnian pyramid. I saw the dating certificate. They found a piece of leaf that had blown in when they were constructing between the third and fourth course of the Pyramid of the Sun, and it dated to 38,000 years ago. Gunung Padang, they're dating it at 26,000 years ago. And so I think that these pyramids are far older than is commonly being said, but you get a bunch of pyramid researchers together like we were in Chicago, and we're all talking much, much older dates.
So you're talking about the, what is that called, the precession of the equinox, and, times going far back, like 50,000 years kind of thing? Or more?
Or more. And so the precession of the equinoxes is roughly 26,000 years. And so in Atlantis, it had time to go around a bunch of times. So, I think that there's a lot to be said about, and my new project is the New Atlantis. And there's a lot of material that has been disconnected that I'm going to reconnect here in this series. And so there were 3 major disasters in Atlantis, and that has been documented in ancient texts, and I always triangulate information that I find so it can be brought down through mythology, or there's geological things that you can verify. So you're not just telling a story, I'm right because I said so, but giving some concrete evidence that's real of how this worked.
Right.
So if the disaster that began the pyramid building effort happened 58,000 years ago, it would stand to reason that some of those pyramids are close to that age.
Right, right. Yeah, because the people have done the research on the Sphinx and the water lines. That obviously there must have been some sort of rainfall and a different sort of topography there with the climate and everything. You mentioned the flood a while ago. I know obviously in the Bible it talks about the flood. Is the flood mentioned, or is a flood or any sort of catastrophe like that mentioned? I've heard it's mentioned in other cultures.
Yo, Shahadazar, she deep, yo. And not trying to just be like superficial, but she pretty as hell too, yo. Boozy, what's good, yo? Yo, she pretty as shit. And she's smart than a motherfucker, yo.
Around the world, how does that play into all of this, do you think? I mean, because people, Christians will say, oh, the flood was 4,000 years ago or some crazy thing like that, but was there really a flood? Like, did all this stuff really happen, do you think?
Well, how many floods? And there's something about the Bible wanting us to think we're 5,000 or 6,000 years old, and nothing is allowed to be dated older than 6,000 years in South America, even if it is older. And so, there's, the paradigm is trying to hold that story together. But there's more than one world flood. That now it's coming out that some 13,667 years ago, that there was a major catastrophe that caused a worldwide flood. But what about before that and before that and before that? So yes, of course, and there's watermarks on things, but even that Sphinx, redating of the Sphinx, that was terribly exciting for us in the 80s when all that happened. And they demonstrated that there would have been a lot of rainfall and that sort of thing. But then there's more information coming out now, researchers that are saying it could be as old as 450,000 years, and that is absolutely earth-shattering, but they're presenting at these scientific conferences, and they're looking at the idea that there could have been a lake at the foot of the Sphinx that went all the way down to where Hawara is. So
oh my God,
we got to keep digging and digging and digging and see that it's layers upon layers upon layers. And if you have a minimum of 3 Earth catastrophes, and I'm probably, we're probably going to find out that there's more, and that shakes everything down. And then they're going to say, well, if they had diamond drill bits, find me the diamond. Well, if we dropped a diamond in my lawn here, we'd have a hard time finding it, even if we were standing there when we dropped it. Like you put 3 world floods on it, and you want to have maybe have the proof of something that was carved with a diamond bit, but not the diamond itself. So, we really are very mixed up in terms of how we do research. I heard a study yesterday actually, that they wanted to replicate, I've taught quantitative research methods to graduate students, so I understand how this stuff works.
Right.
But basically, a proper research study is supposed to be reproducible. That you put your methodology, you put your research question, you say the data, you show how you did the statistical analysis, and the point is if someone else came along and took a sample of grade 3 students and ran the same tests and did the same process, that they would end up with the same results. And then that's reliability. And they found that 60% of the studies that they went to replicate didn't add up and didn't have the same results.
No way, 60%?
60%. Yeah, and then there's the 10-minute study where a corporation will go to a scientist who's working for a university and say, okay, I'm going to ask you to write a paper that says that this product does this, this, and this, and there's no side effects. And I'll give you $250,000. And if you don't, I'll kidnap your kids and break your wife's kneecaps. What do you say?
Oh my God.
Oh, okay, I'll say that's right. Give me the $250,000, and that's how research is done now.
Wow.
It's just, if you really start digging in to find out how we ended up, so confused and disconnected from extreme antiquity and from the truth about our past, it's just amazing.
Nice.
The things you'll find. And the other thing, I'm just looking at pictures of Stonehenge on my desktop here. They date Stonehenge to a certain date, and then archaeologists, then they back it up, and then, a couple of years later, they back it up some more. But we come out, it's true, we know, it's like a lawsuit where they have to find somebody who's guilty and lock them up and close the case. Whether they're right or not, that doesn't come into play. And so we end up talking like that. This is the age, this is who built it. We don't know that. It's way too precise. And we also don't know what happened to it after it was built. So I always say the last time I painted my house is not the age of my house. It's the last time I did work on it.
Right. Yeah, man, it is so just bizarre to me to have these people tell us that they know what really happened. There's just no these beings or these creatures or this civilization or whoever it is that built these ancient structures, to me, have got to be probably the most fascinating culture, the fascinating ideas behind why they did what they did and the reason for what they did. It blows my mind. And for us to come into our culture today thinking that we're the most technologically advanced culture, advanced civilizations to ever live, it's the height of arrogance, isn't it?
It's the height of arrogance. Thank you very much. Yes, absolutely. But the other thing is that there's these structures are multidimensional. They're connected to astronomy and planetary systems, and I've demonstrated, and this will be in the New Atlantis, the sky-ground correlation for the pyramid fields in Egypt, the Band of Peace, and how these planetary systems, like I worked with Starry Night Pro for months to figure this out, and this configuration is connected to the extragalactic grid, which is connected to the center of the galaxy that the Mayans knew about. And this juxtaposition that locks in the pyramid fields that look like they're just scattered holds together all the way back to 50,000 BC. Holds together now and goes into the future to 13,000 some AD, and then it breaks apart. And I'm like, what? What's that? Well, but anyway, the long and short of it is that they were astronomical markers. They're multidimensional machines. They're things that can help increase consciousness. Practice out-of-body experiences, all kinds of things can happen with what's going on with the technology. Here's a little story for you. I mentioned that we went to the Golden Pyramid House a half an hour outside of Chicago, and this family decided they were going to get the dimensions of the Great Pyramid and build their house in that shape, so it's 7 stories high, and they live there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's really neat.
Oh, that's cool.
But when they finished the pyramid, it surrounded itself in a sacred lake. And then they decided they wanted to do some restoration on the exterior of the pyramid, so they put a scaffolding and a tent over the top of it, and the wind caught it and smashed 10 feet up of one side of the pyramid and made a hole in it, and all the water drained out of the lake. And then they repaired the pyramid and made it intact, and all the water came back. It was acting like a pump. It still is.
Oh my goodness, really?
I know, and then this is I was there, I saw it, I've got footage of it. So, so they're pumping mineral water that's, charged, and they've done some tests on the water, and they've made pyramid-shaped bottles with a gold top on them, and they're selling pyramid water in pyramid bottles.
Oh my gosh, how funny. Well, there is something to the shape. I mean, there's obviously like the sacred geometry aspect of all of this, and the shape that maybe the shape of the pyramid is somehow coalescing the energetic or the telluric forces that exist, maybe from the ley lines or God knows where. Maybe it's causing, energy, and maybe it's causing some sort of bending of space-time or something to happen around these sacred shapes. Who knows? I think that with the pyramids, a lot of people like to say, oh, well, they were built for, as tombs, or, oh, they were built for as energy grids or to balance out the earth. There's probably hundreds of reasons why, and they probably have hundreds of functions, wouldn't you think?
Well, many functions, certainly not tombs. In China, they found some bodies buried in pyramids, so it's not, but in Egypt, they've never found it. They're not tombs, they're definitely energy devices.
Well, in Egypt,
there's been a lot of measurements done on the Bosnian pyramid. Dr. Samuels Manigic has done a wonderful, wonderful job in the past 9 years of inviting cross-disciplinary researchers to come there with their instrumentation, measure things. So there's a huge beam of energy coming off the top of the Pyramid of the Sun, and they've never opened it yet. They found, through a high-definition space archaeology technique, the entrance to the tunnel system, and they've been excavating in there for 9 years, and they're making some good progress. But the pyramid itself is like 2 kilometers away, something like that, and the tunnel system is elaborate. They call it a labyrinth. But they've done measurements outside the pyramid with devices that show that the farther away you are from the apex of the pyramid, the stronger the energy is, and it could be actually transmitting from a farther place. And all the pyramids have water tunnels underneath, and precisely placed chambers. There's lots of different characteristics in these pyramids that show that they're extremely complex. It's not just the pyramid shape. I mean, you can take a pyramid. They had somebody at the conference with a pyramid-shaped hat, and it was made out of paper. And they took 2 oranges and they put one outside the pyramid and one inside the pyramid without refrigerating. And the one outside, was all mush and deteriorating in a week, and the other one lasted a month. And they've done all kinds of things like that, sharpening razor blades. I had that myself, where I put my dead batteries from my Walkman or my Discman in the olden days in my pockets and wear the coat into the pyramid, and I'd come back and use the batteries again.
Really?
They used to last 6 12 hours, and after they went in the pyramid, they lasted 6 hours, every one of them.
So they would last 12 hours total, and then when they're completely dead, you put them in the pyramid, and then they would sort of last 6 more hours.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, no, and I've had all kinds of people, have funny things happen with the batteries in their camera, and it would charge up by itself in the pyramid.
So the Bosnian pyramid, is that the pyramid that's sort of covered in in trees and things like that? It's like a lot of overgrowth on that thing, right?
Well, yes, and the thing is that the trees are all going to be different heights. So if you were able to shave them even with some kind of helicopter device, you would see that it's absolutely a straight-sided pyramid. But they've done some excavation on the outside of it. I mean, if you start looking, first of all, mainstream media won't admit that there's anything to the Bosnian pyramid. But, I mean, I've been following Dr. Sam's work, and he just gave me his book, and I just finished reading it. So he's got all kinds of studies that have been done. I even spoke there at the Hidden Mysteries Conference and was exposed to a lot of the year of scientific research that people have been doing there. So if you say there's nothing to it, it only means you haven't looked.
Right.
And so, but in the tunnel system, I mean, they have to excavate because they were filled with rubble. They're finding all kinds of things that come from the matriarchal times, 40,000 years ago. So, I've been studying the sacred feminine for decades, and there's something about pyramid energy and matriarchal cultures that come together at the Bosnian pyramids. It's absolutely astounding what's down there and how it's man-made. It's obviously man-made.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there's no EMFs or radiation down there. It's the healthiest place. I mean, we're just getting radiated here, something terrible, and so it's actually very healthy to be down there.
Yeah, I know. In the Pyramid Code, you do a lot of covering of the matriarchal societies, and I think that's really important because it seems as though Egypt was very much like that, wasn't it? Matriarchal.
Yes, but we look through our own eyes. And the thing is matriarchal cultures are certainly all over the place. I mean, there's finds in Turkey from the Amazons from 42,000 years ago, and Ketal Hayuk, the fertility goddesses, and everything you've got on Malta. And in Malta, you're not allowed to use the G word for goddess. So, I mean, this has really been thorough, that, man-dominated and power over and, everything is just looking through patriarchal lenses. But I think we're going to come to see the last 5,000 years as the patriarchal hiccup. And some of these new finds of artifacts they're resplendent with goddess-centered things, beautiful jewels and angels, and not a single arrowhead or weapon of any description. And so the older finds are deeper, perhaps, or more obscure, and we're finding that it comes from a completely different culture. So all we do is look through patriarchal lenses and project what we think onto the past, and it comes up wrong because of that.
Yeah, and there's an interesting verse in the book of Genesis in the Bible where it talks about, obviously, everyone knows about the Tower of Babel story and all that, but there's an interesting verse that says, in the days, I'm going off memory here of like 10 years ago, but something like, in the days of Peleg, the earth was divided. And I often wonder, was the earth, is that referencing Pangea? And at the time, during, maybe 50,000, 100,000 of years ago, was the Earth more connected in terms of geology, where people would be able to cross-pollinate, and Mexican or Mayan cultures would be able to interact with Egyptian cultures? Because it appears to me like there's some sort of definite knowledge, a high-level knowledge that all ancient cultures had, and it almost seems like they shared it in some weird, strange way, right?
Yes, I think there was a worldwide seafaring culture, and for sure, if you look at Pangea and different really old geological things, you'll see that all the continents were stuck together at a different time. And there's maps that have been found on stone, shows in his presentations. And then there's the Ica stones of Dr. Henvier Cambrera, who I met, who is no longer with us. And they've got all kinds of images of the map of the world when everything was put together, and man riding on dinosaurs, and brain transplant operations. There's 13,000 of these stones, and he amassed 11,000 of them. And it's like a stone library of medical techniques and geology and, you know, all kinds of different things. And so, you know, there are records and there are things pointing to things having been very different a long time ago. But I think instead of thinking that the Mayans mated with the Sumerians, I think that it may be easier to think of it as a third party that fed all of these different groups or divided into these different groups and went around the world. So, for example, if we were going to do that now, we could take all the people who do hip-hop and their style and the kind of music and send them off to colonize one corner. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, all of the rest of us, that, you know, the ballerinas go over there, the firemen go over there. And so these groups would have divided and look different and have a different style, but they're all coming from the same source. And then later it got more and more distorted. But the whole idea of the Tower of Babel, and even where the location of this is, close to Göbekli Tepe and all these different places that, again, have strong signs of matriarchal cultures, was that if we had been unified, and there is unified writing found all over the place. Again, on my desktop, I'm looking at about 10 pictures of that writing, and it's almost runic. And they found it in the tunnels, one example of it, in the tunnels of the Bosnian pyramids. But we would have been unified. But the idea of Babel and the word Babel, the whole thing was about dividing us into different language groups, dividing us so that we could, you know, divide and conquer and not feel unified as one humanity. And that's, you know, again, a source of many of our problems that they keep on showing, you know, pitting one group against another and giving guns to both sides and leaving and letting everybody fight it out. So that, you know, points to a time when we would have been severely divided by design, by whoever, the powers that be. Somehow that was the beginning of many of our problems, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I know in the Bible it talks about how God in the days of Babel, you know, switched everybody's languages up so they couldn't communicate with one another. You know, regardless of whether or not that's true, the idea still seems to remain, is that somehow we got divided. And like you said, you know, when we could divide people and get them to realize they're different, there's such a thing as man and woman, black and white, and all these different stereotypes that we put labels on people and then fight those labels. That's how you start getting people sort of distracted and sick and in debt and unable to really look at what's really going on in the world, which is, you know, the fact that we've been lied to about just about everything. You know, I find these structures around the world just completely fascinating. It's not just Egypt; it's also, you know, what are those stones on the island off of Peru? What is that called? Those big stones, face statues that are Easter Island and all of that. It's just it blows my mind what these ancient cultures were all about.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I've been to Easter Island too after they finished putting the statues back, because there was a big tsunami that knocked them all over, and they took photographs. They had a picture of when it had been finished and standing, and then they took photographs, and it took them 2 years to figure out how to put the thing back together and 2 years to stand the thing back up. Wow. Well, you know, and we don't have the energy, the technology to take the pyramids down. So I mean, it's megalithic, it's worldwide. It's all fascinating, and I think it's all connected, and that these cultures did share something, and that's why we find similarities in a lot of these sites. And also, the location of them is connected. Like I'm working with my animation team to look at how the longitudes are connected and how these sites are sacred geometry can measure where they are and how they end up. And so, I mean, the fact that they're connected in a systemic or a systematic way is equally fascinating. I mean, the farther you dig in this, the more fascinating it becomes. Mm-hmm. Which brings us around back to the first question you asked me.
Right, right. So, what's this work you're doing with Atlantis? Because that goes hand in hand with all of this ancient civilization stuff. What's that primarily about?
Well, it's the sequel to the Pyramid Code, so it's a similar style, and it's 5 episodes, like the Pyramid Code is. And I'm looking at ties to this worldwide seafaring culture, the unified writing, the third-party hypothesis, things that I've been talking about now will be demonstrated, not just talked about, but you'll be able to see through. I've got footage from 11 countries, and underwater footage, aerial footage, balloon, hot air balloon, lots and lots and lots and lots of interesting things. So I'm looking at the science, working somewhat with Valery Uvarov's work from his book, The Pyramids. He's in St. Petersburg, about quartz under pressure and what really makes pyramid energy, and what they would have been used for. And so looking at legends about Atlantis, ancient texts, that there's one in particular that talks about when the head of the crab, the heart of the, how's this go? The head of the crab hits the heart of the lion, which basically is saying that the constellation of Leo and Cancer collided. Mm-hmm. Well, how do you do that because like if you look at the globe, we've got the northern hemisphere sky, and from the southern hemisphere you see the other part, but the part that goes around the middle is actually the zodiac. Mm-hmm. And the precession of the equinoxes is how long it takes to make a full circle through 2,000 year astrological signs. Well, this legend's saying that two signs crashed into each other. Well, what does that mean? Well, it means that the Earth was no doubt hit by an asteroid that knocked the axis of the Earth over, and then we had to start recounting things. So all of that, like what happened to us, when did it happen, and what does it mean? Because pretty much everything about Atlantis has all been, mixed up and fantasized and demonized and all that. So they're saying that they were doing experiments between animals and humans, and they were so evil that God sent the flood to fix it. Well, if you don't think we've got enough evil and crazy experiments going on now, if that's causative of a flood, then we're long overdue, wouldn't you say? But but that means if it was 13,000 years ago, that's half a precessional cycle ago. So if we're at the bottom of the dark here, just starting to head up the other side, if it's not too late, then they would have been in their golden age then. So, where's the logic? And the Pyramid Code, I think, did a lot for people understanding going back further in time. Right. Because we've been locked into this 6,000 year thing, and then that makes it impossible to understand. It's almost impossible to understand anyway, but if you're locked into just the last little bit, you don't have the mind map to take you further back. Right. So, it's going to concretize and show us a little bit more about how these things fit together. But I've also got some really fabulous stuff about Ed Leedskalnin. Oh, yes. From Coral Castle, I have the original 16mm footage of him at the site, not working, but definitely visiting, and 8.5 by 11 black and white pictures that he took with a Brownie camera and the selfie, the original selfie. and then there's a gentleman named James Ernest Brown who wrote a book called Electric Ancient Egyptians, and he deciphered what Leedskalnin did. So part of the footage is of Coral Castle and explaining how he was able to move these megalithic stones, some stones taller than Stonehenge, some stones bigger than in the Great Pyramid, and he moved them by himself, cut them, placed them, and then took the whole thing and got it onto a flatbed truck and moved it to another location and unloaded the truck by himself. So he was, he really understood the secrets of anti-gravity and how to make work with he said if there was I have his notes, and there's a typed out from an original typewriter manuscript, and somehow James has let me have this stuff, which is tremendous. And he said if there was a word called magnicity, he would be happy with it. But even what we say about electricity and magnetism isn't complete, and that's why we can't figure things out. That's one of the things we can't figure out. But they have to work in the context of each other. And so then James is looking at frescoes in Egypt and comparing them to what Leedskalnin was doing. And I say he's cracked the case.
Wow. So Leedskalnin, to me, the two most modern, fascinating people have got to be Leedskalnin and Nikola Tesla. And somehow these two guys were somehow able to figure out something. And wasn't it Leedskalnin who said that he knew how they built the pyramids in Egypt?
Well,
something like that.
Because he always worked in secret and at night, mostly at night, alone. Maybe not in secret, but alone. Many people said that he understood how the pyramids were built in order to apply that technology to his coral castle. He could have said that. I didn't see that in any of the notes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because people, apparently there's legend of him, you probably know this, of kids talking, or say they secretly saw him in the middle of the night moving these huge blocks like balloons and things like that. It seems to me, I mean, it doesn't, his size is sort of irrelevant to me because they say he was about 5 feet tall and, I don't know, 120 pounds or something like that, but you know, even if he was 7 feet tall and 250 pounds, he's not moving, 20, 30-ton block stones by himself. Doesn't matter how tall you are. So, but his size does go to show that, you know, he was doing something fascinating. But I suspect, I think it's this weird. I kind of have this idea that, you know, I read this book a while back by Carolyn Mace, I think you could say her name, called Sacred Contracts. And she talks about how when we come into this life, we drink from the river of forgetfulness. So we forget everything that we knew prior to coming into our current incarnation. And I wonder if it's possible. Why can't there be more people like Ed Lee Skolman or Nikola Tesla? If we were, if we have all knowledge within us, it seems like somehow we could. I don't know. Maybe it's just a wild aspiration, but it seems like we could figure out intuitively how they did these things. I don't know.
Well, I think we are connected to our intuition, but we're talked out of it. Like school is basically a socialization process so that we will not connect to ourselves. So we'll be externally oriented and we'll do what they want us to do. And so I think that Nikola Tesla and Ed Lee Skolman somehow circumvented that whole thing and were geniuses despite what the system was doing, right? But they were also driven into obscurity and, stolen from and everything else. So we have the same DNA that the ancients had. And yes, Nikola, but look, if they hadn't, if J.P. Morgan and all that hadn't attacked Nikola Tesla and driven him into obscurity, we wouldn't have to pay for utilities and we would have wireless technology that isn't damaging to us. And think about how much money we've been given to utilities, taxes, insurance, and interest, which is all fake and phony, right?
Oh, and also the explosion energy, which you talk about on the Pyramid Code. If everything was implosion, that would change the entire world.
Yes, and we have the technology, but it's being blocked at the patent office. Like, if the powers that pretend would take the stick out of the spokes, Mother Earth could start healing again, and we could start, thawing out and finding our extrasensory perception and everything else. But we're being attacked, and it sounds crazy because there's a whole bunch of people who don't think that or don't know that or can't imagine that the government would do anything to hurt us. And if you start scratching below the surface here, you're going to find that there's, you know what, I know, that's the thing too. Having been on the speaker circuit for 30 years and done so many interviews,
I know.
I'm getting, I'm speaking to people who are well informed, such as yourself, and there's a tipping point that I think we've reached where people can't take it anymore. The interviewers themselves are like, what's going on? Why don't we know more? How come we can't figure this out? What's the problem here?
Right.
And there's a certain, I call it systemic distress. And everywhere we look, there's some kids are getting cancer younger, dogs are dying when they go to the vet and they're full of cancer. And all this stuff is just hitting people so hard and from so many different directions that, as I'm saying, even the interviewers are having a hard time wrapping themselves around it. And that's what, it's not same old where we just do a little research and figure things out. Mm-hmm. It's like the frog in the boiling water. It's reaching a crisis point where people are frantic. And at the end of Dr. Sam's presentation, he's talking about getting away from radiation, and he lives off the grid in Croatia, and the rest of the time he's working down under the tunnels in Bosnia. Wow. And the last slide he had was somebody holding, a whole group of people holding their ears and screaming, and he says that if we don't change our ways, we're all going to end up being aggressive zombies, is what he said. And he left us with that picture, and it just like imprinted in my brain. It's like, this is serious. This is serious. Like, to be distracted consumers and spectators is what the media is turning us into, is kind of dangerous.
Well, yeah. I mean, I would have to say it's completely dangerous too, because it keeps people sick and debt, and it keeps them spinning their wheels and unable to really focus on anything that's going on. And the thing that the most fascinating part about the work that you do and the work that I feel like I do on our other website, which is Alternative Health Podcast, all of these things are doorways. Like they always say, oh, marijuana is the doorway drug to other drugs or whatever. But these issues are doorways to the entire platform and the entire foundation of how we view life and what we believe. And it affects history, it affects spirituality, it affects religion, it affects free energy and coal, and it affects everything that we do on this world. So it's not just as simple as, oh, looking at the pyramids and thinking something more is going on, but when you realize that what we've been told about the pyramids is just not true, then we realize, okay, either they lied to us unknowingly, they just didn't know any better, so they had to tell us something, or there's a deliberate agenda for them to lie to us because they're covering something up. And if that's the case, then you got a whole worldview now that has to change. And these types of issues, I think, are really important for helping act as doorways for people to expand their mind and to realize, what else am I being lied to? How else can I take control of my life? How can I get out of debt? How can I be more healthy? How can I look into these other issues? And I think the work you're doing is just amazing, because the Pyramid Code is by far my favorite documentary I've ever seen. I've watched it multiple times, and it just never ceases to amaze me. I just love that work that you did, and I think it's hopefully helping millions of people around the world wake up.
Well, I certainly had a lot of comments about it, and the most common, we'll get an echo there. The most common comment I've gotten is when people finish watching it, they watch it again.
Yeah, exactly. It's so great. So you said the Atlantis is going to be, what's it going to be called, the New Atlantis?
That's the working title now, yes.
Okay, and when is that going to be released, do you know?
Well, that's a work in progress. I was hoping to have it done by July, but there's been some delays, and it's very complicated to get editors that understand this material, and animation takes a good long time. There's lots of 3D work in it, and composing the original music and that sort of thing. So I actually don't know. I'm hoping this year for sure, and I don't know.
So do you think, will that be available via Netflix, or how does that get released, or do people buy it, or what's the deal with the distribution of that?
Well, the Pyramid Code basically got stolen from under me and put on YouTube 15 minutes after the DVD came out, so I'm going to really avoid having a DVD.
Yeah.
We're looking at major television networks right now. I'm working with a team of very experienced producers, and Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, and Gaiam TV.
Oh, right.
That's where the Pyramid Code is now, on all of those sorts of pay-per-view subscription sort of places.
That is really cool. Are you getting any blowback with, gosh, let me think about this. Well, Gaiam obviously would be open. Gaiam, for those that don't know, is a really great portal for this kind of stuff. G-A-I-M, or TV or something. People can look that up. But are you getting any kind of blowback? Are people questioning? Are you getting any kind of adverse reaction to it in the more mainstream areas like Netflix and things, or Hulu?
No, I mean, they go by numbers, and the numbers show that people are really interested in it. No. But the thing is that I want my audiences not to have to ask, how do you know, or what do you mean? Because there's too many people out there that are just like, I said so you have to believe me, and I don't have to tell you why. You prove me wrong. And so because things are laid out in a scientific way, and there's high production value and that sort of thing, and people feel good when they watch it. You see, when there's all this cognitive dissonance going on in television and movies and everything, where they want to stick an advertisement in the middle of our confusion, which is actually what public relations is, and it was Freud's nephew that started all that, Berets. So because it's not tearing people's sensibilities apart, and they feel really good after they watch it, there isn't a lot of blowback at all.
That's really cool. What do you think about What do you think about releasing? I mean, obviously you have your the system set up for how you do these things with the success of the Pyramid Code. Would there be any benefit, do you think, to releasing it on somewhere like YouTube for free and just allowing that to go out there, or is it better, do you think, to release it on Netflix and things like that?
Well, the Pyramid Code cost me $550,000 of my own money, and I've gotten back about $130. So I'm $400 and some $1,000. These things don't out of pocket for the Pyramid Code. So I've taken it off YouTube, off 550 different YouTube channels that people were trying to take the branding off it, and they changed the title, and they put subtitles on it and put it up in different countries. So, that shows the success and how people were interested in it, but it basically was stolen from me. So putting it up for free is a horrifying thought. If that's the only option, I can just lie down and not finish it. I mean, it's not fair because people think they're paying for internet so they don't have to pay for content. But I mean, people have taken piracy to such an extreme that it's crushing most people who are doing this kind of alternative research.
Right. Yeah, it takes so much, and so I'm sure the New Atlantis is going to be just as much in terms of rate, cost, because if it's going to be the same amount of time and amount of research and editing and all that kind of stuff, I'm sure it's a huge undertaking as well.
Well, it is, and the thing is the content is more obscure and uncommon. Like people, you can't just go interview somebody and say, what did they eat in Atlantis? But I do intend on showing a lot of the different aspects of what life could have been like there based on real hardcore stuff that we've found. So it's very difficult to concretize Atlantis.
Yeah.
But I'm well on the way to telling these stories.
That's so awesome. I know you have to run, but one quick question about Atlantis. Am I wrong, or am I just making this up? Wasn't there some mention of Atlantis from mainstream people like some of the Greek philosophers, Plato and people like that, right?
I'm taking Plato's 32 points that he talked about and looking at different places in the world where those points are there, because people want to say it's here, it's one place, it's Santorini, it was there.
Right.
And everybody's fighting over the one place it could be. But if we cross-correlate all the different points that Plato made, people say, oh, there's no elephants in Santorini, so Plato made it up. Well, wait, there may be more to it than that. So, and there is, of course. And so, it's really approaching it, what Plato said from a logical research standpoint. Right.
Gosh, fascinating stuff. So I want to let people know, too, that they can help fund this new campaign that you have called, it's basically the sequel to the Pyramid Code, which is called The New Atlantis, as a working title right now, via GoFundMe, right? That's kind of where you're making that available for people to help fund a project like this.
Yes, and any amount of help is very much appreciated. So it's GoFundMe.com/The New Atlantis.
That is awesome. I am so thankful for your work, and thank you for being on. I know you do a ton of interviews and you do a ton of shows like this, so I appreciate it, Dr. Carmen, so much.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
And just like that, the speaker just, cuts off whenever it feels like it. Like, yo, Trap, fuck what you listening to. But, bruh, I was listening to that. I said, fuck what you listening to, nigga. I'm tired. Yeah, but I was listening to something. Radio don't give a fuck. Bluetooth speaker said, fuck your feelings. I really can't place my hand anywhere. All of that is wet. Wet, wet. What you know about that wet, wet? Alright, so we've been adding some details to the hair. That's what we've been doing. Yeah, the radio is really like not fucking with me right now. What's that? I just gotta. Man, I've been read that PlayStation message like days ago, and now PlayStation just sent me the message like, here you go. All right.
Pretty much the only visible remains of Amenhotep's funerary temple were his two colossal statues. Now archaeologist Dr. Burik Sarusian and her team are finally uncovering the full splendour of this once mighty monument. Covering over 86 acres. Tomb like the pyramids, but a huge complex, the largest funerary temple ever created. EVE Online is a vast universe.
Yeah.
Alive with the...
Hi, it's Katrina. While the Sahara may seem like a vast wasteland, there is more than what meets the eye. From an enormous swimming dinosaur to a lost civilization that fought the Romans, there are some things found hidden under the Sahara. Number 10. First swimming dinosaur. At up to 50 feet long and weighing as much as 7 tons, Spinosaurus aegyptiacus dwarfed the Tyrannosaurus rex. Known as one of the strangest dinosaurs ever discovered, it lived between 95 and 100 million years ago during the Cretaceous period and possessed an extremely long tail resembling a paddle. The scientists who discovered the remains of this unique feature in modern-day Morocco described it in the journal Nature as the most extreme aquatic adaptation ever seen in a large dinosaur. The creature's vertebrae contained struts extending as much as 2 feet, giving its tail an oar-like shape. Researchers believe the dinosaur propelled itself through the water by swaying its tail back and forth. This was basically a dinosaur trying to build a fishtail, lead researcher Nizar Ibrahim told National Geographic. Ibrahim and his colleagues argued in 2014 that the dinosaur was semi-aquatic, but their theory was met with backlash from other scholars who contended that Spinosaurus was strictly a land dweller. The discovery of the oddly shaped tail was a game changer to previous findings, however, providing the most solid evidence thus far that the species did, in fact, spend a sizable portion of its life in the water. Simply put, a tail of its kind would have no practical use on land, and its unique shape appears to be an evolutionary adaptation for navigating in a marine habitat. What do you think? Have you ever heard of this dinosaur before? Let me know in the comments below. Number 9. Ancient Cemetery. While hunting for dinosaur remains at a site called Gobero in Niger in 2000, a group of scientists led by University of Chicago paleontologist Paul Serino stumbled upon a large human graveyard, possibly dating as far back as 10,000 years. It turned out to be the largest known Saharan cemetery, containing the remains of fish, crocodiles, and other creatures, in addition to around 200 humans. Evidence suggests that the site was inhabited periods, with roughly 1,000 years in between. The groups that occupied the site, known as the Kithians and Tenarians, left behind more than just their corpses. Artifacts relating to their daily lives, including harpoons, bone jewelry, and arrowheads, were discovered alongside the deceased. There were numerous bizarre burials as well, including a man whose head was placed in a pot and another who was laid to rest on top of a turtle shell, as well as a woman who was buried facing 2 children. The women and the 2 children were likely buried on top of a bed of flowers, as evidenced by pollen found in their graves. Even more bizarrely, the tools and animals at Gobero seemed out of place for the modern Sahara climate. This is because they originate from a time known as the period of the Green Sahara, also known as an African humid period, during which changes in the Earth's orbit brought more rain to the region, resulting in more vegetation forms. Number 8. The Tamanrasset River. Largest hot desert in the world where only the toughest wildlife can survive. But it wasn't always that way. Before the Sahara Desert was covered in nearly 3,630,000 square miles of sand, it was a humid, tropical region filled with lush vegetation and freshwater sources. Nobody knew really what was going on beneath the sand until 2015. That year, researchers studied satellite imagery that revealed evidence of a paleo river, remnants of an enormous, now inactive river system that once flowed through the dry and barren desert. This ancient river system can be found deep beneath the sand. Called the Tamanrasset River, it may have flowed through the Sahara as recently as 5,000 years ago. The river stretches over 323 miles. These channels are periodically reactivated during warmer climate cycles called African human periods, the most recent of which ended roughly 6,500 years ago. In this particular case, scientists believe the Paleo River system may be connected to fossil water sources and can help indicate where to find new water sources in the desert. In the meantime, scientists are keeping an eye out for what satellites find to hunt down more rivers. Number 7. Libyan Desert Glass. For over 3,000 years, fragments of canary yellow glass, known as Libyan desert glass, have been found between shifting sand dunes over a vast area of the Sahara Desert in western Egypt, near the Libyan border. The mysterious material was even incorporated into King Tut's gilded and jewel-covered breastplate in the form of a scarab beetle that serves as a centerpiece. For a long time, scientists didn't know exactly where Libyan desert glass came from. It's made of pure silica, which can only form in temperatures of 2,912 degrees Fahrenheit or more, a temperature that generally does not occur naturally anywhere near the Earth's surface, posing the obvious question of how this happened before humans existed, and therefore without human intervention. The strange substance's origins were finally discovered last year, according to a 2019 study published in the journal Geology, which asserts that the material formed around 29 million years ago, following a meteorite impact. Included in the research is the first known evidence of the collision in the form of high-pressure damage from the event. Scientists reached this conclusion based on the presence of a mineral called rhyolite that is present in Libyan desert glass. Rhyolite only forms during a meteorite impact, as evidenced by its presence only being reported at sites of this nature, meaning the substance could have only come to exist under that particular circumstance. Despite these findings, researchers have a lot left to learn about Libyan desert glass, including where the crater is located and how big it is. Number 6. Monster croc. Dinosaurs weren't the only animals that favored the marine habitats once offered by the Sahara. In 2016, scientists discovered evidence of the largest ever sea-dwelling crocodile in modern-day Tunisia. Their findings, which appeared in 120-million-year-old rock, were published in the journal Cretaceous Research. Does anyone read this? Let me know in the comments below. The creature, named Macamosaurus rex for its formidable size, grew up to 30 feet long and weighed as much as 3 tons. It hailed from an ancient crocodilian lineage of species who spent nearly their entire lives at sea. Only a skull and a few other bones were recovered, leaving experts with a lot of guesswork in terms of determining the true size of Macamosaurus rex. But the region in which they were found has not really been explored, leaving hope that more complete remains will be unearthed in the future. The species had larger freshwater relatives, but boasted the distinction of being the largest ocean-dwelling member of the crocodilian family tree. Macamosaurus rex was originally one of several species thought to have died out during a mass extinction around 145 million years ago, during the Jurassic period. But the discovery of its bones in much newer rock suggests that the creature survived the extinction event, and that the event was not as far-reaching as scientists once believed. Number 5. Nabta Stones. A series of stones known as the Nabta Playa Stone Circle, located in modern-day southern Egypt, marks an area that flooded seasonally thousands of years ago, forming a lake and attracting Neolithic nomadic tribes who set up camp at the site. Roughly 6,000 years ago, the Nabta people erected the Nabta Playa Stone Circle, consisting of a series of stones measuring 12 feet in diameter. The arrangement predates Stonehenge by 1,000 years, and is the earliest known astronomically aligned structure, although exactly what it aligned with in the night sky is unknown. Astrophysicist Thomas G. Brophy suggested that several of the stones point toward the Orion's Belt constellation, but this theory remains to be proven. Early people used the site between 9,000 and 6,000 years ago for feeding and watering their livestock, and evidence also suggests that they sacrificed animals there. Known as the Nabta people, the society underwent a significant change around 7,500 years ago, at which time they began sacrificing cows, sheep, and goats. The adoption of this practice coincided with a level of social organization previously unseen in the region. Numerous underground chambers discovered in the area contain the remains of animals who were ritualistically slaughtered and buried. Number 4. Lake Mega Chad. A freshwater body called Lake Mega Chad once occupied a roughly 139,000 square mile area of the Sahara Desert in Central Africa, making it the largest freshwater lake on Earth at the time. In the words of the British scientists who made the discovery in 2015, a reconstructed lake-level history for the ancient Lake Mega Chad, once the largest lake in Africa, suggests that a North African humid period with increased precipitation in the Sahara region ended abruptly around 5,000 years ago, and that the lake's Bodel Basin, now a large source of atmospheric dust, may not have dried out until around 1,000 years ago. Dust from the dried-out lake began blowing across the Atlantic and fertilizing the Amazon rainforest around that time, 1,000 years ago, leaving experts with the quandary of how the rainforest received nutrients before then. Today, all that's left of Lake Mega Chad is Lake Chad, occupying just 137 square miles. It occupies parts of Chad, Niger, Nigeria, and Cameroon, and was reduced to its current size mainly by humans overusing it as a freshwater source. The lake's dried-up remains make up the Bodel Depression. the world's largest source of dust. This dust is imperative to the health of the Amazon rainforest, where nutrients are quickly washed from the soil and need ample regular replenishing. But where the rainforest acquired nutrients before the Bedell Depression existed, starting 1,000 years ago, remains
Flanagan has the solution for your best sleep yet. Get a free adjustable base with the purchase of select mattresses. Plus, with free next day delivery, you'll be sleeping better tomorrow night. Shop now at Raymore and Flanagan.
All right.
Number 3. Lost Libyan civilization. There's more to the Sahara Desert's hidden secrets than ancient bodies of water. Satellite photographs released in 2011 show over 100 fortresses or castles belonging to a so-called lost civilization that once inhabited southwestern Libya. These settlements, which date back between 1 and 500 AD, were inhabited by a mysterious but advanced people called the Garamantes. However, under Gaddafi, they remained unreported and unexplored. After the fall of his regime, archaeologists have now begun an early 2011 expedition to the fortresses, located roughly 620 miles south of the Libyan capital of Tripoli, yielded pottery samples confirming the Garamantes' former occupation. During the trip, archaeologists noticed the ancient structure's stunning state of preservation. At first glance, the ruins resemble something of a Roman nature, but project leader David Mattingly said, actually, this is beyond the frontiers of the Roman Empire. These sites are markers of a powerful native African kingdom. There are mud brick remains of castle-like complexes with high walls, ancient homes, cemeteries, and advanced irrigation systems, enabling them to grow plants in the middle of the desert. Knowledge of the Garamantes is limited, not only because of civil strife in Libya, but by the country's limited budget for archaeological research. So far, experts have deducted that this remarkable civilization had their own writing system, high-quality textiles, and metallurgy. With satellite imagery, archaeologists can study a large area and can see that it was once densely populated. These oasis farmers are far from the barbaric nomads painted by the Romans. The Romans fought several battles against the armies of chariots and cavalry of the Garamantes, who were famous horsemen. Rock carvings depict different kinds of soldiers that famously gave the Romans a hard time. For some mysterious reason, the Garamantian civilization began to decline in the 5th century and then disappeared.
Alright, I'm gonna take a break.
Valley of the Whales.
I need to go
As you now know, the Sahara
elevate my
Desert
leg for a
contains
little
vast
while
bodies
and
of
take some
water on and
goddamn
off throughout history.
painkillers or something.
Included among these is the Tethys Ocean,
My foot
which
hurt.
existed tens of millions of
My foot really hurts. Oh, I gotta take all this shit back downstairs now. Alright. just sent the client a picture. I told him I can maybe have this shit done by next weekend, hopefully. And he said he'll be around, so just keep him posted, which is always a plus. Alright guys, we did 3.5 hours. Probably painted for like a good solid 2 hours. It's not bad. Just take a break for a little while. Like I said, I need to elevate my leg and get off this thing for a minute. Figure out what I'm gonna do about lunch. Probably play some video games or something. I'll holler at y'all later on. Peace.